I'm venturing into a new thing. For me, it's actually been a long life thematic entourage that I've engaged in, and I love telling stories. And it's only been in the last few months where I've followed the prophetic words of Doug Addison and such prophets that I've realized, dang, I've always been a great storyteller. So, because of that, I was venturing to move and I've looked into some other places to relocate in the West. And upon my arrival from Arizona, I was like, well, I kind of like my space here in the South, and Savannah hasn't been completely horrendous except for the fact that I've lost everything. So maybe I can coin a funny little epilogue of all of my crisis that I've encountered. And I looked up storytelling, and I've been doing this for months. And 2 days ago, it was the prophetic word of Doug Addison that we would start to look back at the things that we forgot about and that we would maybe revisit some of those old passions or those dreams that we thought of partaking in for the call in our life. And lo and behold, this morning, it said simply that there was a storytelling at I think it is the something children's school here in Savannah. It's on the square. And I thought, I've got the time. I'm going to put in the effort. And wouldn't you know that as I showed up, of course, I couldn't find a parking space, and it was all kinds of ridiculous sweating because the heat has definitely bestowed upon us. I'm walking and I'm cussing a high mile, and I see one of those cat vans, and I'm like, dude, where the heck am I at? And lo and behold, it was right there in front of me. So I walk in and I'm listening to these stories, and they're reading them. They're reading stories that they've written on paper. And my research on the moth and, these kind of interpretive, creative gatherings of writers and storytellers has been a spontaneous event where you just share things from the cuff, and it has to be a real life story, and I've got a million of those. And I really did enjoy those that were reading their stories. It was good. But I thought, man, I go before students in high schools and middle schools all the time, and I remember specifically when a janitor was trying to fix the light bulb in the classroom that I was subbing in, and he thought I was the real teacher, and he sat down and posted up on one of the chairs, and he's like, "You're a damn good teacher." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just the sub." But it was just magnificent that I got to have that reinforcement, that positive continuation of, I can tell some daggone good stories. Just saying. So today would be nonetheless, after all these stories were being shared, and some of them were just beautifully and eloquently written, I was starting to get this butterfly effect in my spirit. And I'm like, daggone it, are you meaning to tell me that the South could be something that I could enjoy? I mean, I used to coin the phrase of, wow, I thought I was going to be a Southern belle. And then I came down here and I realized what a blessing it was to be from the North. And, I've been pretty sarcastic, hence that's my coping mechanism. And I've used that to, gain some inner people that invited me into their world, their little storytelling world. And it was fantabulous. So after all the events of storytelling transpired, they invited me to go out to lunch with them, which I so definitely jumped on. And I'm talking with these people that just have backgrounds of vast proportions. And they're sharing just things about ewes and birthing Icelandic sheep and putting boats in the water, which I can definitely share my story, which I so will do, of when I dropped the hull out of the Boston whaler of my ex-father-in-law's boat. But man, we all had something in common. And it was a beautiful thing. It was for people with real life stories, hurts. We've struggled. We have great loss. We've grieved. We thought we were going to be something in the southern terrain, and it blew up in our face, and we're finding a need to reinvent ourselves. And I don't really have a lot of friends, but I make acquaintances everywhere I go. And I can sow into other people's lives, but I'm having a deficit of people that can sow into mine. And I need it. I want it. My soul and spirit have always longed for it. But today, it was powerful. It was palpable. Because these people invited me to spend time and to learn from them. The best teachers are always those that are willing to be taught. And I could say, hey, my experience has really sucked ass up until this point. But if you've got a niche, if you've got something to enlighten my vision and to help me put on deeper spiritual eyes, so be it. I'm wanting that. And from their perspective of life, they said, give us a try. Try us out. And I said, yes, I will. If you are in a quandary, if you are so creative and prophetic that you're beyond your years and you've seen it loop over again, so now that the trends of bell bottoms are back into place, but you saw it forthcoming 20, 30 years prior, I feel you. I am so prophetically minded, spiritually minded, that sometimes I am of no earthly good. But there's a place for us because we get to say, yeah, I've been there, done that. People have made fun of me because they're like, what haven't you done, Angie? And I'm like, not much. I'm willing to try anything once. And that is exciting. That is exhilarating. I don't know where you're at in your life right now, but I can assure you that there is a great awakening upon the earth. And you don't have to keep up with technology. You don't have to keep up with the waves of Christianity and people promoting platforms of preaching for themselves or competition with the next marketing career and promotion of the next corporate business. You don't have to, really. You be you. And today was just a great awakening of me being me. And all of my 42 years that's upon me, I am at my happiest now than I've ever been. I have had great upsets and immense loss. But dang, it's kind of fun when you meet other people who've overcome it. And they get to say, oh yeah, I get that. You're not alone. You are not alone. I want to encourage you today. Dang it. Don't believe the lie that says you've missed it or that time is wasted. You have much more in store for your future than you have believed. And now is the time. It is here. Tell your story. Tell your many stories. Share your testimony. And let God get the glory. He'll work out the details. And what people need to glean from it, they will. But you being you is the voice that people need to hear right now.